The giant space station hung in the darkness like a metal city. Lights blinked along its sides as ships came and went. This was Nexus Prime, the most important place in the galaxy. Today, it would host a meeting that would change everything. Admiral Jake Morrison sat alone at a small table. His gray uniform was neat and clean. His hands rested calmly on the table. Around him, 12 different alien species filled the great hall. They whispered to each other in their strange languages. Some had scales. Others had metal parts instead of skin. A few glowed with their own light. The human was the only one sitting alone. At the front of the hall, 3 aliens sat on high chairs. The middle one looked like it was made of living crystal. This was Supreme Arbiter Zixtella. Light moved through its body when it spoke. To its left sat a robot with glowing red eyes. This was Chancellor Quinn 7. To its right, a huge creature with 4 arms and sharp teeth growled softly. This was War Chieftain Groktar. "We call this meeting to order," the crystal being said. Its voice sounded like wind chimes. "We are here to discuss the human problem." Jake Morrison did not move. He had heard this before. The aliens were afraid of humans. They always had been. Zixthala stood up. The light in its body grew brighter. Humans have spread across space too fast. In 50 years, they have taken over hundreds of worlds. They build weapons we do not understand. They fight in ways that make no sense. They are dangerous. A tall, thin alien with purple skin raised one of its 6 arms. The humans broke the peace treaty on Kepler 438b. They said they were just mining, but they built weapons there. "We were protecting ourselves," Jake said quietly. "Your people attacked. Our miners first." The purple alien's eyes flashed. "You had no right to be there." "The planet was empty," Jake replied. "No one lived there." "We checked. It was in our space," the alien shouted. Jake stayed calm. "Your space ends at the asteroid belt around that system. We checked the maps. The planet was free to claim." Another alien stood up. This one had metal wings, and sparks flew from its mouth when it talked. "Humans do not follow the old ways. They do not respect the order of things." "What order?" Jake asked. "The strong rule. The weak serve. This is how it has always been." Jake almost smiled. "And you think humans are weak?" The flying alien made a sound like grinding gears. "Humans are new, young. You should learn from us." "Learn what?" Jake said. "How to keep other species as slaves. How to strip mine planets until nothing lives. How to start wars over who gets to sit in the best chair." The hall grew quiet. Some aliens looked angry. Others looked worried. War Chieftain Groktar slammed his fist on his chair. The sound echoed through the hall. "Humans are too proud. You think you are better than us." "No," Jake said. "We just think we are different." "Different how?" the crystal being asked. Jake stood up slowly. He looked around the hall. "You want to know what makes humans different? We do not want to rule you. We do not want to serve you. We just want to live our lives and be left alone. But you expand," shouted the purple alien. "You take more worlds, because we need room to grow. Because we have children who need homes. Because we dream of seeing new stars." Jake's voice stayed calm. "But we do not take worlds that belong to others. We do not make slaves. We do not destroy planets for fun." Chancellor Quinn 7's red eyes flashed. "Your expansion threatens the stability of known space. Your technology advances at an unacceptable rate. Your behavior patterns cannot be predicted or controlled." "Controlled?" Jake raised an eyebrow. "Yes," Zixthala said. The light in its body pulsed faster. "This is why we called you here. The Galactic Council has made a decision." Jake waited. "Humans will accept limits on population growth. You will share all weapon technology with the Council. You will move all human colonies to Sector 7, where they can be monitored. You will accept council oversight on all human activities. The hall was silent. Jake looked at each of the alien leaders. Then he looked at the other species in the hall. Some watched him with fear, others with curiosity. A few seemed sad. "And if we refuse?" Jake asked. War Chieftain Groktar stood up. His forearms flexed, showing muscles like steel cables. "Then, the combined fleets of 12 species will remove you from space. Your colonies will be destroyed. Your ships will be scrap metal. Your people will be scattered to dead worlds where they cannot cause trouble." Jake nodded slowly. He had expected this. Earth's government had expected this. Every human colony had expected this. "You have 30 days to decide," Zixthala said. "Accept our terms or face the consequences." Jake Morrison looked around the hall one more time. These aliens had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. They were older, stronger, more advanced. They had bigger fleets and better weapons. By all rights, they should be able to crush humanity like a bug, but they were afraid. Jake could see it in their eyes, in their body language, in the way they clustered together while he sat alone. They were terrified of humans. Not because humans were strong, but because humans were unpredictable. Because humans did not follow the rules that had kept the galaxy stable for so long. Jake picked up his hat and put it on his head. He straightened his uniform one last time. Then he looked directly at the 3 leaders. "We decline your offer," he said. The hall erupted. Aliens jumped to their feet, shouting in a dozen languages. Some demanded he reconsider. Others threatened immediate war. The crystal being's light flashed like lightning. But Jake Morrison was already walking toward the door. His footsteps echoed in the chaos. He did not run. He did not hurry. He walked like a man who had just made the most important decision in human history. As the door closed behind him, the aliens fell silent. They had expected anger, or fear, or desperate bargaining. Instead, they got 4 simple words and a man walking away. For the first time in thousands of years, the rulers of the galaxy wondered if they had made a terrible mistake. The emergency meeting room in Washington was packed. President Lisa Chun sat at the head of the long table. Her face was tired but determined. Around her sat the most important people on Earth. Military leaders, scientists, and politicians all waited to hear what would happen next. Admiral Jake Morrison had returned from Nexus Prime 3 hours ago. His report was short and clear. The aliens wanted humans to become prisoners in their own galaxy. They had 30 days to agree or face total war. "Show them the numbers, General," President Chen said. General Robert Hayes stood up. He was a big man with gray hair and scars on his hands from old battles. He pressed a button and a hologram appeared above the table. It showed the galaxy with red and blue dots scattered across it. "The red dots are alien fleets," Hayes said. "The blue dots are ours. They outnumber us 8 to 1. Maybe 9 to 1 if all 12 species work together." A woman in a dark suit raised her hand. "What about our technology? Are we behind them?" "Some ways yes, some ways no," Hayes replied. "Their energy weapons are stronger. Their shields are better. But our ships are faster. Our tactics are better. And we adapt to new situations faster than they do." Dr. Amanda Wright, the head of Earth Science Division, cleared her throat. She was young for such an important job, but everyone respected her mind. "We have advantages they do not know about. Project Blackout gives us instant communication across any distance. Project Thunder creates weapons that can destroy entire fleets. And Project Exodus ... double quotes." She paused and looked at President Chun. "Tell them," the president said. "Project Exodus is our escape plan. If we cannot win this war, we leave the galaxy entirely. We have the technology to travel to other galaxies. We can take our entire civilization with us." The room was quiet. Leaving the galaxy meant leaving everything they had ever known. It meant giving up Earth, Mars, and hundreds of human colonies. "There is something else," Dr. Wright continued. "Our deep space sensors have detected strange signals from the edge of the galaxy. Something very old and very powerful is moving out there. The aliens do not seem to know about it." Captain Steve Johnson, who commanded the exploration ship Aurora, nodded. "My crew has been tracking those signals for months. Whatever is out there, it is bigger than anything we have ever seen. The energy readings are off the charts." President Chun stood up. "We need to make a choice. Do we fight a war we probably cannot win? Do we accept slavery? Or do we find a third option?" "What third option?" asked the military advisor. "We leave," Chun said simply. "If they do not want us here, we will go somewhere else. But we do it on our terms, not theirs." General Hayes frowned. "Madam President, leaving the galaxy will take years, maybe decades. We do not have that kind of time." "Actually, we do," Dr. Wright said. She pressed a button and new images appeared. They showed massive shipyards hidden in the asteroid belts around Jupiter and Saturn. "We have been building Arc ships in secret for 5 years. Ships big enough to carry entire cities. Ships that can travel between galaxies." The room buzzed with quiet conversation. Even the highest leaders had not known about this project. "How many people can we move?" asked Admiral Morrison. "All of them," Wright replied. "Every human in the galaxy. It will take time, but we can do it." President Chun looked around the table. "I want opinions. What do we do?" General Hayes spoke first. "I say we fight. Humans do not run from bullies." "Running and choosing to leave are different things," said Admiral Morrison. "If we stay and fight, millions will die. If we leave, we all live to build something new." Dr. Wright agreed. "The galaxy has belonged to these species for thousands of years. They see us as invaders, even though we never hurt anyone. Maybe it is time to find our own galaxy." "What about Earth?" asked a woman from the Colonial Office. "This is our home." "Earth is a planet," President Chen said softly. "Home is where humans are together. We can make a new Earth somewhere else." The debate went on for hours. But slowly, a decision formed. Humanity would not bow to alien demands. They would not fight a war that would destroy both sides. They would leave the galaxy with dignity. The president's order went out to every human world within minutes. Emergency broadcasts reached Mars, Europa, Titan, and the furthest colonies on the galaxy's edge. The message was simple: pack everything. Important: humanity was moving to a new galaxy. The reaction was swift. Some people were angry, some were scared, but most were determined. If the galaxy did not want humans, then humans would find a better galaxy. In the shipyards around Jupiter, workers began final preparations on the great Arc ships. Each ship was 5 kilometers long and could carry 1 million people. They had farms, factories, schools, and everything needed for a long journey. On Mars, teams began downloading every piece of human knowledge into quantum storage devices. Every book, every song, every scientific discovery would come with them. In the asteroid belt, mining operations shifted into high gear. They would need raw materials to build new worlds in their new home. The aliens watched all of this through their spy networks. They expected panic. They expected desperate attempts to negotiate. Instead, they saw the most organized evacuation in Galactic history. 3 days after the ultimatum, alien intelligence reports reached the Galactic Council. The reports were confusing and frightening. Humans were not preparing for war. They were preparing to leave. Not just some humans, but all humans. They were planning to abandon the galaxy entirely. Supreme Arbiter Zix Thala read the reports with growing alarm. This was not supposed to happen. Humans were supposed to surrender or fight and lose. They were not supposed to have a third option, but they did. And worse, the energy readings from the galactic edge were getting stronger. Something ancient and terrible was coming, drawn by the conflict between humans and aliens. The crystal being realized that forcing humans to choose might have awakened forces better left sleeping, forces that could destroy them all. But it was too late to change course now. The ultimatum had been given. Battle lines were drawn. And somewhere in the darkness between galaxies, humanity's future was taking shape. The shipyards around Jupiter worked day and night. Sparks flew from welding torches as workers attached the last pieces to the great Ark ships. Each ship looked like a floating city made of metal and glass. Gardens grew inside transparent domes. Schools and hospitals lined the inner corridors. These ships would be home for millions of people during the long journey to another galaxy. Commander Elena Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the construction platform watching the work. She was in charge of saving human culture. Every painting, every book, every piece of music had to be preserved. Teams worked around the clock scanning documents and artifacts into quantum storage crystals. "How are we doing on the Shakespeare collection?" Elena asked her assistant. "All done, Commander. We have every play, every poem, every letter he ever wrote. The crystals can store it all perfectly." Elena nodded. "What about the music?" "Everything from Batch to modern pop songs. The aliens will never understand what they lost when we leave." Across the solar system on Mars, Dr. Kevin Murphy was working on a different kind of preservation. His teams collected DNA samples from every living thing on Earth. Tigers, whales, trees, flowers, even tiny bacteria. If humanity was going to start over on new worlds, they would need to bring Earth's life with them. "The seed vault is almost full," his assistant reported. "We have samples from every major food crop and 10,000 wild plant species." "Good," Murphy said, watching technicians load frozen genetic samples into special storage units. "What about the animals?" "We have DNA from every vertebrate species and most of the important vertebrates. The cloning labs on the Ark ships can recreate entire ecosystems when we reach our destination." The work was massive, but humanity was determined. They would not leave their galaxy as refugees. They would leave as a complete civilization ready to build something new. But the aliens were watching. Their spy ships hung at the edge of human space, recording everything. The reports they sent back confused and worried the Galactic Council. Supreme Arbiter Zix Thala read the latest intelligence with growing concern. "They are building ships larger than our biggest battlecruisers, but these ships have farms, not weapons. Schools, not gun decks. What are they planning?" War Chieftain Groktar snarled. "It is a trick. Humans are clever. They want us to think. They are running away. Our sensors show massive energy readings from their construction sites," Chancellor Quinn 7 reported. "They are using technology we do not understand. Black hole engines, quantum drives. Some of their ships can bend space itself. The crystal being's light flickered with worry. How long before they are ready to move? Our estimates suggest 2 more weeks. But Arbiter, there is something else. 3 of our scout ships tried to get closer to their construction yards. They never came back. Destroyed? We do not know. They simply vanished. No distress signals. No wreckage. They were there one moment, gone the next." This news made the council chamber fall silent. Human weapons were supposed to be primitive, but ships that could make other ships disappear without a trace suggested otherwise. Meanwhile, human colonies throughout the galaxy began their own preparations. On Kepler 438b, The mining colony, where the first trouble started, workers dismantled their equipment and loaded it onto transport ships. They left the mines clean and safe, with detailed notes for whoever might come after them. "Why are we being so careful?" asked the young miner. "They want us gone. Why not just leave a mess?" The colony supervisor, an older woman named Beth Carter, smiled sadly. "Because we are better than that. We do not destroy things just because we are angry." Similar scenes played out on hundreds of human worlds. Farmers harvested their last crops and prepared their fields for the next owners. Scientists shared their research with alien colleagues who had been friendly. Engineers left detailed instructions for maintaining the power plants and water systems they had built. But not everyone was happy about leaving. On the industrial world of New Detroit, workers held protests demanding they stay and fight. "This is our home too," shouted a factory worker named Tom Bailey. "Why should we run just because some aliens are scared of us?" The planetary governor, Maria Santos, addressed the crowd. "We are not running. We are choosing our own path. The galaxy has room for many different ways of life, but they want all ways to be their way. We choose freedom." "Freedom in exile?" someone called out. "Freedom to build something new. Something better. Something that our children will be proud of." As the days passed, alien monitoring stations detected more strained readings. The energy signatures from the galactic rim were getting stronger. Whatever was out there was moving closer to inhabited space. Dr. Zilnath, a Vorthic scientist who had worked with humans before the crisis, made a disturbing discovery. The quantum patterns left by human technology matched the energy signatures approaching from the galactic edge. "This cannot be coincidence," Zilnath reported to the council. "Human experiments with space-time manipulation have awakened something that has been sleeping for millions of years." The implications were terrifying. If humanity's advanced technology had attracted the attention of ancient cosmic entities, then forcing them to leave might not solve the problem. It might make things much worse. 3 Bruthan warships tried to intercept a human supply convoy near the asteroid belt. The convoy consisted of unarmed cargo ships carrying food and medicine to the construction sites. The Bruthan commander expected an easy victory. The cargo ships did not even slow down. As the Bruthan vessels approached, space around them seemed to twist. The warships found themselves spinning helplessly as gravity waves buffeted their hulls. By the time they regained control, the human convoy was gone. How did cargo ships defeat battle cruisers? Groktar demanded when he heard the report. His fleet commander had no answer. The humans called it an asteroid mining operation, but those gravity beams could tear apart a planet. The alien races began to realize they had made a fundamental error. They thought they understood human capabilities. They were wrong. Humanity had been holding back, following galactic laws and customs that limited their actions. But with those restrictions removed, human technology revealed its true potential. As the deadline approached, the galaxy held its breath. The greatest migration in known history was about to begin. But no one knew what would happen when humanity actually tried to leave. The ancient entities at the galactic rim moved closer, drawn by the quantum disturbances of human preparation. And in the darkness between stars, something vast and old began to wake up. The final day had come. 30 days after the Galactic Council's ultimatum, Admiral Jake Morrison returned to Nexus Prime. The alien leaders expected him to bring humanity's surrender. Instead, he carried a single message crystal in his pocket. The Great Hall was packed with representatives from all 12 species. They whispered nervously as Morrison walked to the center of the room. His uniform was perfect, his face calm. He looked like a man who had already won. Supreme Arbiter Zix Thala leaned forward. Light pulsed quickly through its crystal body. "Admiral Morrison, you have come to accept our terms? Jake placed the message crystal on the table. I have come to deliver humanity's final answer. The crystal activated, and President Lisa Chun's voice filled the hall. To the Galactic Council and all member species, we thank you for making our choice clear. You have told us we are not welcome in this galaxy. Very well. We are leaving. This galaxy is yours. Try not to destroy it while we are gone. The message ended. The hall was silent. War Chieftain Groktar stood up, his forearms flexing. This is a trick. Humans cannot leave the galaxy. Watch us, Morrison said simply. Across human space, the exodus began. On Earth, the last transport ships lifted off from every major city. Families carried small bags containing their most precious possessions. Children held pets and toys. Grandparents took one last look at the sky they had known all their lives. Captain Julie Anderson commanded the massive Ark ship New Horizon. She stood on the bridge watching millions of people board her vessel. The ship was so large, it had its own weather systems. Clouds formed in the upper decks where the gardens grew. All passengers secured, her first officer reported. Cargo holds are full. We have enough supplies for a 50-year journey. And the other ships? Ready for departure. The entire fleet is waiting for your signal. Julie looked at the blue planet below. Earth had been humanity's home for thousands of years. Now they were leaving it forever. But they were not running away. They were walking towards something new. Send the signal, she said. The great ships began to move. Their black hole engines created ripples in space itself. Reality bent around them as they prepared to tear a hole between galaxies. The sight was beautiful and terrifying. Alien fleets had positioned themselves throughout human space. The original plan was to destroy any humans who tried to resist. But now they faced something unexpected. The humans were not fighting. They were simply leaving. A Vorthic battle group moved to intercept the New Horizon. Their commander, Admiral Crixto, opened the communication channel. Human vessel, you are ordered to stop and surrender. Captain Anderson's voice came back calm and clear. We are not in your space anymore, Admiral. We are in the space between galaxies. Your authority ends here. You cannot simply leave. We already have. The New Horizon's engines activated fully. Space around the ship began to twist and fold. The Vorthic vessels found themselves pushed away by forces they could not understand. They watched helplessly as the human ship began to fade from normal space. But something else was happening. The quantum disturbances created by the human exodus were spreading. At the edge of the galaxy, ancient sensors detected the massive energy discharges. Things that had slept for millions of years began to stir. Dr. Zilleneth monitored the situation from a research station. The readings on her instruments made no sense. The humans are not just leaving, she reported to the council. They are changing the structure of space itself. They are creating a permanent gateway between galaxies. The implications were staggering. If humans could travel freely between galaxies, they could return at any time. With any allies they might find, with any technology they might develop. On the space station Nexus Prime, the alien leaders watched their screens in growing horror. The human exodus was not a retreat. It was the opening move in a game none of them understood. How many ships are they moving? Chancellor Quinn 7 asked. All of them, came the reply. Every human vessel in the galaxy. Military ships, cargo ships, even small personal craft. They are taking everything. The Bruthan fleet commander, General Vexter, tried to intercept a group of human colony ships near the outer rim. But as his ships approached, space around them began to glow with strange energy. The humans were not just leaving. They were being escorted. Massive shapes moved in the darkness between stars. They were not human ships. They were something far, older and more powerful. The ancient entities that humanity's technology had awakened were protecting the Exodus. "Pull back!" Vexter ordered. "All ships, retreat to safe distance." But it was too late. The ancient beings had noticed the Bruthan fleet. One of them, a creature of pure energy the size of a moon, turned its attention to the warships. The Bruthan vessels simply stopped working. Their engines died. Their weapons went silent. They drifted helplessly in space as the human convoy passed by. Back on Nexus Prime, the Galactic Council received reports from across the galaxy. Every attempt to stop the human exodus had failed. Worse, the ancient entities were becoming more active. Stars flickered as these beings passed by. Planets shifted in their orbits. "What have we done?" Zixthala whispered. Admiral Morrison stood up to leave. "You wanted us gone. We are going. But you might want to think about what comes next." "What do you mean?" Morrison paused at the door. "We were the newest species in the galaxy. We were also the most peaceful. We never conquered anyone. We never destroyed worlds for resources. We never kept slaves. We were the ones who said, 'Maybe there is a better way.'" He looked around the hall at the assembled aliens. "Now we are gone, and you are left with each other. Good luck with that." The door closed behind him with a soft click. In the weeks that followed, the galaxy learned what Morrison meant. Without humanity's moderating influence, old conflicts reignited. The Bruthan clans attacked weaker species. The Vorthic Empire began strip mining entire systems. The Synthesis Collective started forced assimilation programs. Trade networks collapsed. Diplomatic agreements fell apart. The careful balance that had kept the galaxy stable for centuries began to crumble. And in the space between galaxies, humanity's ships continued their journey. Behind them, they left a galaxy in chaos. Ahead of them lay new stars, new worlds, and new hope. The Great Exodus was complete, but the story was far from over. 6 months had passed since the last human ship disappeared into the dark space between galaxies. The Milky Way was finally free of humanity. The alien species had gotten exactly what they wanted. But as the months went by, they began to understand what they had lost. Ambassador Kethra of the Peaceful Melody tried to stop another war from starting. The conference room on Nexus Prime was filled with angry voices. The Bruthan clans wanted to invade Vorthic space. The Vorthic Empire threatened to destroy 3 smaller species if they did not hand over their mining rights. Everyone was shouting. No one was listening. "Please," Kethra said, her soft voice barely heard above the noise. "We must find a peaceful solution. War will help no one." Lord Chieftain Groktar laughed harshly. "Peace is for the weak. The strong take what they need." "This is not how things were before," Kethra replied. "We had treaties. We had trade agreements. We worked together." "That was when the humans forced us to play nice," snarled a reptilian delegate. "Now we can be ourselves again." Kethra looked around the room sadly. She remembered when humans sat at these meetings. They always asked the same question. How can we make this work for everyone? Now no one asked that question anymore. The economy was collapsing too. Human trade routes had connected dozens of species in peaceful commerce. Human banks had provided loans to developing worlds. Human technology had solved problems that seemed impossible. All of that was gone now. Dr. Zillaneth sat in her laboratory studying the latest reports. The numbers were getting worse every day. Food production was down 30% because human agricultural techniques were no longer available. Medical research had stopped because human scientists were not there to share their knowledge. Even simple things like computer software were failing because humans were not there to maintain the systems. "How bad is it?" her assistant asked. "Worse than we thought," Zillaneth replied. The humans were involved in everything. They were the glue that held galactic civilization together. Without them, everything is falling apart. But the worst discovery was still to come. Deep space monitors detected something terrifying. The ancient entities that humanity's technology had awakened were not going back to sleep. They were growing, more active. Stars began to flicker and die as these beings fed on their energy. Entire solar systems vanished overnight. "What are they?" asked Supreme Arbiter Zixthala during an emergency council meeting. "We call them the Devour Swarm," reported the lead scientist. "They are beings of pure energy that feed on stellar matter. Our records show they last appeared 5 million years ago. They destroyed half the galaxy before returning to dormancy. How did the galaxy survive last time? We do not know. The records from that era are incomplete. But something made them stop feeding and go back to sleep." Chancellor Quinn7's red eyes flashed with alarm. "How long before they reach inhabited systems?" "At their current rate of expansion, 6 months, maybe less." The council chamber fell silent. They faced extinction from forces beyond their understanding. But worse news was coming from the edge of the galaxy. Long-range sensors detected massive construction projects in the Andromeda galaxy. Humanity was not hiding. They were building something. The structures were enormous. Space stations larger than planets. Ships that dwarfed entire fleets. Geometric patterns of light that stretched across star systems. Whatever humanity was creating, in their new home, it was beyond anything the Milky Way had ever seen. "They are coming back," whispered a Synthesis Collective representative. "The humans are coming back." "When?" asked Groktar. "Unknown. But the quantum signatures suggest they have technology we cannot comprehend. Their new ships use principles of physics we have never seen." Zixthala's crystalline body dimmed with fear. The council had wanted to eliminate humanity because they were unpredictable and dangerous. Instead, they had forced humans to become something far worse. A species with nothing to lose and unlimited resources to build whatever they wanted. Reports came in from across the galaxy. The Bruton clans had conquered 12 weaker species, but were fighting among themselves over the spoils. The Vorthic Empire had stripped 3 star systems bare, but could not find buyers for the raw materials. The Synthesis Collective had assimilated 6 organic species, but their collective consciousness was becoming unstable from processing so many different minds. Without humans to mediate disputes, trade networks crumbled. Without human innovation, technology stagnated. Without human idealism, hope died. But the Devour Swarm continued to advance. They had consumed 17 stars in the Outer Rim. Refugee fleets fled toward the galactic core, carrying tales of worlds that simply stopped existing. The ancient entities were unstoppable by any conventional means. Dr. Zillaneth made a disturbing discovery while studying old records. "I found something in the archives from the last Devourer incursion. There was a species called the Shepherds who seemed to be immune to the Devourers. They could communicate with the entities and convince them to return to dormancy." "Where are these shepherds now?" Zixthala asked urgently. "Extinct. They vanished 4 million years ago. But their technology was based on quantum manipulation and space-time distortion." "Like human technology?" "Exactly like human technology." The implications hit the council like a physical blow. Humanity might be the galaxy's only hope against the Devour Swarm. The same species they had driven away, in fear, might be the only ones who could save them. But humanity was in another galaxy now, building an empire among alien stars. They had been rejected, exiled, and threatened with extinction. Would they care if their former home was destroyed? Supreme Arbiter Zixthala stood before a massive display showing both galaxies. In the Milky Way, The Devourer swarm advanced like a plague of darkness, consuming everything in their path. Ancient civilizations that had existed for millions of years faced extinction. In Andromeda, geometric patterns of light grew larger each day. Humanity's new empire stretched across thousands of star systems. They had resources, technology, and freedom beyond anything they had known in the Milky Way. And in the dark space between galaxies, quantum sensors detected something that made the crystal being's light flicker with terror. Energy signatures that could only mean one thing. Humanity was watching. They had not forgotten their old home. They knew what was happening. The question was no longer whether humanity would return. The question was what they would have become. When they did, would they come as saviors, as conquerors, or as something else entirely? The galaxy that had forced them to leave now waited in fear, wondering if the species they had rejected would choose to save them or let them die. The final judgment was coming, and only humanity knew what form it would take.